So as I'm sure you've heard by now, after months of rumors and speculation, Lionel Messi signed with Inter Miami. And of course there have already been tons of memes made about this.
In Miami, amongst the coast, there lives a 4-foot ghost. If you don't give him his penalty, then you will be his biggest enemy. Make sure to not make eye contact with him, or he will shout camera wow.
In the beaches of Miami, there lives a ghost, unknown soccer teams he loves the most. His name is Leo Messi, and he loves to dive. There was no snow in Miami until he arrived. If you have a penalty and Leo Messi is near, shout Bayern Munich 3 times and he will disappear.
But you know what? Memes aside, I'm super hyped for this. We're going to be able to see Leo Messi, the GOAT, playing here in North America. He hasn't even played a single game for Inter Miami yet, and we're already seeing his impact. Inter Miami saw millions of new Instagram followers in the hours after his signing was announced. The influence this dude has is insane. Not only is Inter Miami now the most followed MLS team, but they also have more followers than every NHL, MLB, and NFL team. Messi coming to North America is huge for MLS. It's going to bring a lot more attention and revenue to the league, which is great. But as much as I love Major League Soccer, it isn't the only league that I follow. Before I was an MLS fan, I was an NHL and MLB fan. I mean, I've been following these leagues for more than half my life at this point, and they hold a special place in my heart. But unfortunately, these leagues are a bit behind the other North American leagues. Despite the numerous draws and attractions at MLB stadiums, and the fact that baseball is known as America's pastime, MLB attendance has been slowly but surely dropping over the years. And as for the NHL, they've always been behind the other major North American sports leagues. Unfortunately, the NHL has never been able to enjoy the same sort of mainstream popularity that, for example, the NBA has had. And just to show you what I mean, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who many people consider to be a small market team, have more Instagram followers than literally every NHL team. And if you're wondering why I keep bringing up Insta followers, I'll get back to that in a bit. And meanwhile, you have the MLS, who, for much of its existence, has been an afterthought league and nearly went bankrupt. But in recent years, it's become much more relevant, with cities starting to build brand new stadiums for the intended purpose of housing MLS teams. And with Messi joining a Major League Soccer club, the league's relevancy is only going to go up from here. So how does MLS compete with the MLB and NHL? Well, the MLB schedule almost perfectly aligns with MLS's schedule, with the MLB going from March to November and MLS going from February to November. Now you may be thinking, but MLB games happen every day, whereas MLS games only happen once or twice a week. And that is a good point, but on the flip side, since the MLB's schedule is so long, it means every individual regular season game is less important, which means there's less incentive to go to games. And also, who in their right mind is going to watch the Miami Marlins over Inter Miami, who literally have Lionel Messi? And don't think you're safe either, NHL fans. Let's not forget, there are 7 months in the year where the MLS and NHL schedules overlap. And while we're on the topic of the NHL, let's address the elephant in the room. Hockey is kind of a rich people's sport, not gonna lie. Or at the very least an upper middle class sport. I mean, hockey equipment costs a fortune. I think anyone who plays the sport knows that. And this barrier for so many people to actually play the sport and get into it is a huge reason why it hasn't caught on in so many parts of the US. Soccer, on the other hand, is a lot easier to get into. Anyways, let's talk about streaming. You know, the way people actually watch the games. I made a video not that long ago highlighting why I don't like MLB's streaming. I'm not going to go too in depth with what I talked about, but to summarize, I don't like MLB's streaming because of all the unnecessary blackouts and restrictions. Blackouts and restrictions that make it needlessly frustrating to watch games on TV and on other devices. And the experience of streaming NHL games is as bad, if not worse. The experience of watching NHL games varies whether you live in Canada or the United States, and NHL streaming as a whole is like needlessly complicated, so I'm not going to waste time going in depth about it, but basically the NHL also has lots of blackouts and restrictions. MLS, on the other hand, has the MLS Season Pass, which is on Apple TV. And the MLS Season Pass allows you to watch every single MLS game with absolutely no blackouts or restrictions. Just one subscription for every single game. the way it should be. The fact that it's so easy to watch MLS games gives it a huge advantage over the MLB and NHL. I love the season pass. Now let's talk about demographics. What you're seeing on screen here is American respondents to a Statista poll that asked which leagues people watched. People had to provide their age, and they could select multiple leagues. And as you can see, MLS, despite being less than 30 years old, has already surpassed the NHL in popularity, which is almost unbelievable. If MLS was already more popular than the NHL before Messi joined the league, then that gap is only going to increase from here. Now there's a good reason that this poll included ages 16 to 25. Those younger demographics are going to make up the sports fans of future decades. So in other words, having lots of young people watching your league will mean sustained viewership in the future. And that's why I brought up Instagram followers earlier. Instagram's user base tends to skew towards the younger crowd. So having lots of Instagram followers tends to be a good indicator that you're popular with young people. I mean, look how many more Instagram followers the Lakers have compared to the other LA teams. This really helps to back up the numbers shown on that graph. And now look at the LA Kings. They've won 2 Stanley Cups, both of which came within the last 12 years, by the way, and they still haven't even hit 700,000 followers. They play in the second biggest city in the United States, and the biggest city in the most populated state. They've won 2 Stanley Cups in recent memory, and they still don't even have 700,000 Instagram followers. That's pathetic. A similar trend can be observed in South Florida. And you know what's funny, even though most of these teams have the word Miami in their name, only 2 of them play within Miami's city limits. Well, 3 of them once Inter Miami's new stadium opens. And speaking of Inter Miami, I feel like I should say they are an outlier among MLS teams. The only reason they have that many followers is because of Lionel Messi. They only had 1 million followers before he signed with them. The next most followed team in the area is the Miami Heat, who have a very respectable 6.5 million followers. And I'm gonna make an educated guess and assume that's because of LeBron James, who is another very influential athlete among my generation. And the Florida Panthers, who literally just went to the Stanley Cup Finals, don't even have 400,000 Instagram followers. And the 2-time World Series winning Miami Marlins aren't that far ahead, proportionally speaking. So by now, hopefully we've established that the NHL and MLB have fallen behind in terms of popularity, at least with the younger generation, and that lack of popularity with younger generations is going to harm those 2 leagues in the long term. Meanwhile, Major League Soccer has done a much better job of making up ground. However, at the end of the day, I do still care about the NHL and MLB, and I want them to succeed. So what do I think they should do? Well, for one, end the blackouts and restrictions. Just make it so that you only need 1 subscription to watch every single game, no matter where you are. And I know team owners aren't going to like this because they want to preserve their territorial rights or whatever, but you know what? Screw the owners. They're greedy and they're ruining the fan experience. MLS don't gotta worry about that because the league owns all the teams. And second, and this mainly applies to the NHL, market your stars more. People love stars. My generation loves stars. The sad reality is, most Americans who aren't hockey fans probably don't know who Connor McDavid is, which is such a big shame because the guy's insane. I would show one of his highlights right now, but I'm afraid of getting copyright claimed, and I've been copyright claimed for using hockey clips in the past, so I'm gonna not do that, but go ahead and look up some of his highlights. He's insanely talented, and the NHL needs to do a better job of marketing their superstars. Messi is proof that superstars turn heads, and that's why Major League Soccer is getting so many new viewers right now. And in a huge sports market like the United States, Major League Soccer has lots of room to grow. And if the NHL and MLB don't get it together, then they could very well find themselves becoming afterthought leagues. With that being said, thanks for watching. Join the Discord server, link in description. Have a good one.